The African Union chief and Senegalese President Macky Sall has offered his words of comfort to the late Queen Elizabeth's family. In a tweet, Sall expressed his sadness, saying he salutes her memory of an illustrious and exceptional reign. At the same time, the Kenyan President-elect, William Ruto, has hailed Queen Elizabeth's admirable leadership of the Commonwealth. He says her memories must continue to be an inspiration. All right, let's get more reactions now from the continent, and we speak to the former president of Botswana, that's President Ian Khama, who joins us from Johannesburg. Your Excellency, thank you very much for your time. You were born in Surrey, that's in the United Kingdom, and you were born, your mother was Lady Khama, a British woman. The reason I'm raising all of this, or I'm going back into this history, Your Excellency, is that the question I have for you is what this moment, the passing of Queen Elizabeth, mean for you?
Good morning once again. I would just like to use this opportunity briefly before I answer your question to express my condolences to the members of the royal family and the British people, and for them to know that our prayers and thoughts are with them during this very sad time over this unexpected passing of Her Majesty the Queen. For me, today, when I woke up in the morning, there was a feeling of emptiness. Emptiness because someone like Her Majesty had held such a dominant position in our world. She's not a politician or head of government as such, but as the head of state and the head of the Commonwealth. And just the remarkable kind of person she was in the way she went about public service. She, in my opinion, has been the most respected person in the world today. And that for me is why I said that there is this feeling of emptiness. Something has gone out of our world. Something has gone out of our life, which is irreplaceable. And I think the adoration, and I use that word adoration, that many people had for her, because there are not many people who can claim that they are adored or people are proud of them, especially when you talk about in the political leadership field. But generally, people adored Her Majesty for what she had been able to achieve and how she related to people.
You travelled to meet the Queen. This was at Buckingham Palace in 2008. Describe for us that moment when you met her and the kind of person you found.
When I went to meet the Queen, I was, of course, apprehensive because you looked upon her as someone up there on a pedestal that one wasn't really going to be so sure as to what the meeting, her reaction would be like. Maybe she would be very wooden, robotic, because she has so many visitors who come to see her. But she was able to put you at ease just by her manner. Her character was such that she took an interest in you as a person. She took an interest in my country. And the conversation flowed in a manner as if at the end of it, I had known her for many years. And as if we had had several conversations. She was just that kind of person who, she even had that sort of motherly approach about her, which really put yourself at ease. So that's how I remember her. The warmth that came out of her, the interest she had, like I said, in myself and our country, the well wishes she expressed for us, was something which remains ingrained in my memory from that meeting.
As a former head of state, Your Excellency, How do you think the continent of Africa should remember her?
I think she had paid a number of visits to our continent, including to my own country, Botswana, when my father was president. And I think that the relationship, when you look at the past, Britain's colonial past, and the sort of experiences that colonies of Britain went through during that time was not something that we wish to remember or something we can say we benefited from. It was a dark period during colonialism. But when the Queen came out, when she came around, because she inherited that period, but then later on when she came out, it was as if to repair the damage that had been caused by those dark days of colonialism. She came, showing that no, we are not above you. We are not superior to you. We want to be part of you. We want to be friends with you. We want to participate in your development and help you to grow as nations. So I think that's how I think the continent should look on her, as someone who brought in this new era from a dark past in order to bring about cordial relations with a former colonial power.
And I'm keen to perhaps explore that a little bit, because you're saying she came in a way to undo this dark history that came before her. But some say that she's not a remnant of the colonial past. She was an active participant in some instances to try and keep countries that were under colonial rule to remain there. Do you disagree with those views?
I certainly do, because I think from what I know of her, from my interactions with her, and when you look at the role that the royal family has in these modern times, is to go and build bridges between Britain and those specific countries, to go and develop relations beyond what they may be at that any point in time between Britain and those countries. And that is a role which we remember her for, and one which she embraced enthusiastically from my experience. So, like I said, at the time she took over as the Queen, that was the situation that you have described at the time. It's something she inherited. She was not the architect or the engineer of colonialism. But she was somebody who definitely influenced the change and the outlook of successive British governments in bringing a close relationship. And I think that's why she was so committed to the Commonwealth.
Mm. And you touch on the Commonwealth.
That is the proof, is that her commitment to the Commonwealth was an indication of what I've just said.
And I'm sorry to talk over you, Your Excellency, but you're touching on the Commonwealth. Your home country of Botswana is still very much a member of the Commonwealth. Some observers suggesting that perhaps that grouping may no longer be intact, and I'm now asking us to look ahead as Britain comes under the new rule of King Charles III, and remember that just in November he presided over the transitioning of Barbados from a constitutional monarchy into an independent state. Do you think that the Commonwealth still has a future?
Well, what is interesting is that if you look at some of the more recent members of the Commonwealth, they didn't really have the same strong ties to Britain as those who were colonized by Britain. And for me, any kind of grouping of countries that comes together in unity must be a good thing. So if the Commonwealth is sort of like outliving its original associations as having been tied to the UK. That does not mean that they cannot reinvent themselves and renew their association with each other to bring about a unity of nations which can work together for mutual benefit.
Your Excellency, I'm letting you go now, but the manner in which you are reflecting on the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, again, I want to go back to that very first question. Do you still feel a strong affinity with the people of Britain? I'm asking you this at a personal level, not just for yourself, but your entire family.
Well, like you have pointed out, I was born there. I still have family there. So, of course, I have an affinity with my family who are in the UK. But I am a citizen of Botswana. That is where, when you talk about strong affinity, that's where it is, with my country, which I consider as Botswana, and the people of Botswana, and my family who come from Botswana. So there can be, I don't have any split, what is the word?
I wish I could help you. I wish I could help you, but I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss for words myself.
But when you talk about an association with a country, you know, I'm not divided between one or the other. I was born there. I have family there, but my home and everything else that means anything to me is Botswana, and that will never change.
Let me thank you very much for your time. That's the former president.
But I was going to say was I don't have split loyalties. My loyalty all to Botswana.
Indeed. And would you want for Botswana to remain under the Commonwealth or a member of the Commonwealth?
Yes, I think you know, like I said, for the reasons that I gave you before, that has been part of our history, our legacy, and I think there have been benefits of belonging to a club of nations that call themselves the Commonwealth, and I think that is something which brings us together, like the many other multilateral organizations that exist, and the Commonwealth is one which has also existed for a long time and has been successful and brings people of the Commonwealth together. And whenever you have associations or organizations that bring people together, that can only be a good thing.
Your Excellency, thank you very much for your reflections. Former